All right, we're live. Melissa, say hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm in Waxahachie.
You're
my
in
first time.
Waxahachie.
I love it.
It's so exciting.
Thank you for having me in your home,
Yes.
of all places. If you see, that's actually a batting cage back there for her kids who play baseball. All right, you ready? Let's get started?
Yes.
All right, hello everybody. My name's Alex Vidal. I am the Regional Vice President for Coldwell Banker here in DFW, and today I'm coming to you live from Ellis County, technically Waxahachie,
right.
very small town. And if there's anybody who dominates Waxahachie, it's Melissa McClain Lewis, our top producer here. Get this, guys, over 100 deals a year. She's got a family. She gives back to the community, and she has a lake house and enjoys her lake house on the weekends. So we're going to talk today about how can you enjoy life and still close 100 deals a year. But before we get into that, Melissa, tell us who you are. This is the first time I've met her, by the way. So.
Yes, it's so exciting. I am actually fourth generation Ellis County resident, and my husband is fifth or sixth, I think.
Who's right behind the camera.
Yes, Chris is here, and I couldn't do what I do without him. And our roots are planted very deep here. So we went to high school together. My mom, I actually have a newspaper to show you from 1985.
Really?
Was a realtor. Both my parents were, only for part-time in the 80s.
Okay.
So that didn't last very long.
Were they with Coldwell Banker?
They were actually with Century 21.
Ah, okay, close in the family.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was a small brokerage here, but their broker was with Coldwell Banker, Stephanie Brown Pinkston.
Okay.
She's with a Dallas brokerage now. But we've just been here our whole life. We know this area like the back of our hand. We love it, and I always tell people we're in the trenches here. So what I tell you, I know to be exact, pretty much, because we live it.
That's right.
We eat, sleep, breathe Waxahachie, Ellis County. We know it like the back of our hand. And we really don't do business anywhere else.
Got it.
So our kids are in the schools here. We go to church here. We work here. We shop here. Our families are here. We go to the doctor here. So pretty much, when we have somebody move in that's not familiar with this area, I can pretty much tell them anything that they want to know.
About the area. So did you go straight into real estate like out of high school, or did you have like a brief hiatus and then you got into it?
No, so funny story. My parents were the customers that every realtor wants.
Okay.
They moved every couple years, always in Waxahachie.
Sure.
And so our family realtor, Vera Kammerback, she saw my mom one day in the grocery store and just asked if I was going to be needing a job as a senior. I was a senior in high school, and my mom said, well, she's not really looking for a job. But I had done most of my credits, so I was able to work through the co-op program at the high school. And I was going to Waxahachie, Navarro, and Navarro's our community college here. Okay. And then the co-op program. And so I went to work on a whim for Vera in high school, and I was her assistant, and that was in the year 2000. And then Coldwell Banker actually bought Vera out. She was Prudential. Her and Betty Venable were Prudential Metro Realtors.
I didn't know. I was with Prudential many years.
So Prudential Metro Realtors here in Waxahachie. And I kind of went with the sell, but I became, instead of the office's personal assistant, I became Vera and Betty's personal assistant.
Okay.
And I referenced the year 2000 because after I graduated from high school, that was September 11th, 2001. Yep. So Vera didn't hire another senior because the economy was kind of crazy at that point. So I just came back and worked for her during the summer, Christmas break, stuff like that. And she never hired anybody else. So then I knew that I wanted to do real estate. I didn't really want to go and commute to Dallas. And I had a business degree from Texas State in San Marcos with a marketing major. And so I was like, banking, insurance, real estate. Yeah. 20 years ago in Waxahachie, there wasn't a lot to pick from if you weren't going to commute to Dallas. And so I graduated in August, took my test in September, and then I was licensed, actually, coincidentally, now on my son's birthday. He has a Halloween birthday.
Oh, yeah, cool. Very
in
cool.
October 31st, 2004.
Wow, all right, so 16 years. Now, there's a bunch of different ways we can go this, but one of the things I loved, and I called Frank Obringer and Joanne on the way up, and I'm like, what do I need to know about Melissa, right? And they're like, they both said it. What's crazy to me is that she does over 100 deals, but yet she makes time for her family and everything else. So before we even get into how you do 100 deals, I actually want to go the reverse. And we did not prepare for this, by the way. Again, I just met her 5 minutes ago.
Seriously.
And even though I've been in Dallas for 4 months, it's been kind of crazy. What are some, so she has no idea what I'm going to ask her, and I didn't know what I was going to ask her until right now. What are some non-negotiables right?
Okay.
So because if you're going to church, you're giving back to the church and the community. You have your kids, and obviously your kids play sports when you have a batting cage in your own yard.
Yes.
You got to have certain non-negotiables in your business. What are those?
Well, for me, non-negotiables are time blocking and deciding what's important to you. So early on, before Chris joins me in this industry, Sunday was our only day off together. And we were married about 6 years before we had kids. And so it was hard and fast that I did not work on Sunday.
Okay.
And I even had that on my voicemail. And I would tell people, and there's very rarely any point in time that I got any pushback on that for a long time. Now with baseball and whatnot, it sometimes is a little bit hard to maneuver having Sundays off altogether.
Sure.
But I still hold pretty true to that. I had one appointment on a walkthrough that I had to do yesterday with the buyer because I had 3 closings today and we had to juggle this.
3 closings today.
But I never miss a game. I don't miss my kids' games. And family just comes first because I've seen agents get burnt out. Okay. And I never wanted to be that person. Now, most all of my clients, family, friends would say that I work a lot, but I just like to work. That's just who I am. I was raised that way. My parents, brought me up with a strong work ethic.
But if you're working hard and you're not missing any life events and you're working with your husband, so you're not lacking that, then it's a beautiful mixture, right? If you're working hard and you're not taking time to enjoy the family, it makes sense. So when you block for a game, and I'm the same way, like I do not miss.
No, I'm not missing
Ryan Gorman, the CEO of Coldwell Banker, can be calling me. I'm not missing the game, right? Because I'm of the opinion that I'm not going to be on my deathbed saying, man, I wish I sold more real estate or for whomever, right?
Yes, correct.
My family, though, 100%. So are you open and honest with your clients and tell them, hey, I got my son's got a game, I'm not missing that?
Absolutely. Open and honest. They know, and we really don't work with a whole lot of strangers, and so they know that that's important to me. And most of the people that we work with are from around here too, and that's a strong foundation for them. They wouldn't ask me to miss a game because they wouldn't miss a game for their kid.
Interesting. So serving a community and working in a community that has the same values that you have in terms of what you want. I love that. Okay. So most of your business is referral business?
Yes. So I started when I was 21. So it's not like a lot of 21-year-olds are buying their first home. And growing up, I did a lot of babysitting, and I just solely relied on my sphere of influence because it was kind of like, if you're going to trust me with your kid, hopefully you'll trust me with the biggest investment you'll make.
I like that. I love that.
And so I just solely really just had to rely on my sphere of influence, which was really large because our family has been here forever. But church groups, teachers, I've sold tons of my teachers' houses. I talked to one of I think she was 7th and 8th grade reading teacher this week. I rented a house for her earlier this year.
How cool.
And so just people that knew me and that I knew that I really didn't have to sell myself to. I had to earn their business because I was young, and there's plenty of other people that they could have done business with, but I had to solely rely on sphere of influence, and it's just grown and grown and grown since then.
So do you have a system in place that you follow up with your sphere?
I do. Okay. So I'll tell you, at first, it was our entire family doing mail outs. I am a direct mail person.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes,
I want to dig on that. Okay.
I'm a direct mail person. And so with my sphere, it would be once a month I would do that because in the year 2000, Facebook was a thing, but I got on only when you had to have a college email address. Okay. So it wasn't a thing for everybody. Yeah. It was just a thing for college people. So we didn't have, email newsletters as much and text where you can group me and do all that. So direct mail was my thing. I'm not really into door knocking, and I'm not really into cold calling. So I just focused on people that I knew. And we did once a month. Our family would sit down and I would make my own.
And are you still doing that today?
We are still doing that. You'll see at the office. Okay. We have our calendars ready to go. But now we have help that does it. So my niece actually helps us, and Gentry, our oldest son, does all the stamps and labels.
So give me an idea of some of the content that you're pushing. So if you're mailing your sphere of influence once a month, right? What type of...
Not once a month anymore. Okay. We do probably about once a quarter now. Okay. But once a month it started off that way.
And are you following that up with emails and
We have everything now.
Got it.
That's just how it started.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's regardless of the methodology on how it gets delivered, if it's text, email, mail, Facebook, whatever, what type of content are you pushing to your sphere?
Well, a lot of what we push mainly is our listings because that's what people care about. They want to see the houses. We do general reminders and we do the Clients for Life campaign with Coldwell Banker. I'm not really good about putting little facts out there about the real estate market because I feel like anybody that wants to know that, they just call and ask me or text me or send an email. We do get our brain picked a lot, which I love helping people, so that's not a big deal at all. But mainly just what we have, our inventory.
Got it.
So. And
you're listing. Okay, so you get a listing, right? Do you do the? And so I teach a lot the listing presentation class. So I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
If you're interviewing a potential seller that happens to be a friend of yours, past client, are you doing the full listing presentation every time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I 100% have watched you and agree. Even if it's your brother, cousin, son, you should still do it. So absolutely, because one thing that I'm a firm believer on, I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I am huge advocate of listing concierge. Okay. And there is nobody in our market that can compete with us on listing concierge and what we have to offer. So I want them to know what their 6% is getting them as far as marketing. And for somebody in this area in Ellis County, it's a big deal that your property is getting in D Magazine.
That's right.
We have a lot of people moving here from the Metroplex, and it's a huge deal that we can offer that because no other brokerage in Ellis County can offer that like we can.
Okay, so for those that aren't watching, listing concierge is a package that essentially for a third of what it would cost you as an agent outside of Coldwell Banker, you get this monster arsenal of tools from D Magazine, the mail outs, to photography, to drone photography, TV show, YouTube, etc. It's phenomenal. If you're not with Coldwell Banker, you don't know what you're missing.
Correct.
And if you are with Coldwell Banker and you're not using it, what
call
else
me.
do we need?
Yeah.
Call her, right? So I'm curious because I'm kind of, there's two different ways you can pitch listing concierge. Or just what you do in general. Do you just pitch and say, hey, this is listing concierge, or do you wait to get the feedback from the seller, and then depending on what they tell you, you break up listing concierge into different pieces?
No, there's not a lot of feedback when I give my listing presentation. It's pretty cut and dry, and we're very systematic in our business. And so we have a routine that Chris and I do when we go on the listing. It takes about an hour. Okay. And so there's not a lot of hurry up and wait. We know exactly what we're doing whenever we go in there. We're presenting it to them. Okay. And then if they have questions, then we can expand further. But what's there to really ask with listing concierge?
Got it.
There's just not.
So now you know what question may be coming next. Walk me through that. You don't have to go into the specifics, but what's the flow of your listing presentation?
Okay.
I mean, so what percent of your business is listings?
Probably I would say 70.
70%. So 70 listings a year at least. Okay. What's your flow then? And it's interesting because last week I had my buyer's agent, Liz, and that's all she does.
Right.
So this is the reverse. So all right, 70 plus listings. What's your flow of your listing?
I will start with saying that Chris Leader has been phenomenal in training with our company over the years. And so this is not a Chris Leader agreed listing, but it's worked for us, and it's something that I really couldn't change because it's kind of in our real estate DNA. I mean, we've just done it for so long this way that it works for us. So
if you're getting 70 plus listings, I think it's okay.
So we go in and we ask them where we're going to be sitting. And I prefer to sit at the table because it's very awkward if you don't have somewhere to put your paperwork. And we put our stuff down, and I just kind of take the lead at that point as far as telling them what's going to happen and how it's going to go. And then I ask them to take me on a tour of the property, and at that point I'm taking notes. We have a checklist that we use that's basically like our version of the MLS input sheet. So we're already doing that at that point. And then I also ask them what they love about the house. So what sold them, so I can make a note of that because it's pretty likely that somebody else may like that same thing. And then at that point, Chris is going to take measurements and he's checking my notes behind me. So we check everything 3 times, and this is a real big kicker for us and our team. Because we don't want to make any mistakes. And we normally make a mistake on the first or second time, but on the third time, nobody's going to know that we made a mistake.
Got it.
So we check it 3 times. And then at that point, I'm doing the presentation with the seller. He's taking the notes, rechecking everything, taking room measurements, getting us
So
ready.
he's not with you at the table?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. We divide and conquer with everything that we do. It's very rare that we're together all day.
Okay.
And so I'm answering any questions from the seller, going over the listing presentation, going over the paperwork. And then, it's pretty much done. So
Wow.
our photographer may go at another time, or we usually try to time it where we can maybe go an hour before or after him. It just kind of depends on our schedule and
Wow.
his
So
schedule.
you're just assuming you're getting the listing, and
Yes.
you already have the photographer set up.
Yes.
So are
now,
you-
if there's a chance that I know that I'm not getting it, he will come at a later date and we'll do a 2-step listing appointment.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
What do you do when you get hit with the commission objection? And do you get hit with the
I
commission
don't,
objection?
because I don't lower my commission. And I tell people my dad has done a ton of business with me and for us, and I don't even lower it for him. So,
Why should you lower for?
yeah. And I tell people on the listing agreement, there's a checkbox for our listing agreement that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they say, will you lower it? And I say, no, but I can go up. And then they normally do that, and it's nothing,
I love it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So let's talk about the buyers you do work. Are the buyers assuming sphere of influence? What about sign calls?
We have a team, and most of the time I either refer them to somebody on our team if I get a sign call, or I'll kind of feel a hot or cold lead. I always ask if people are pre-approved or if they're working
Sure.
with anybody else. And most of the time, honestly, in today's market with the low inventory that we're having, most of the time if somebody calls from a sign, they're already working with somebody.
Got it.
They're just out, burning the pavement trying to find something that their agent's not finding for them.
Okay. What's your team setup? Like lay it out.
Okay. Just me and Chris, and then we have a buyer's agent, Damon Bentley, who is
Okay.
phenomenal. He was actually one of our clients.
Oh, really cool.
Yes, and he owned a pizza franchise, and then when he sold that, he has about 25 rent houses, and he owns some commercial properties that I handled for him. And so that's how we got to know each other. He actually came as a referral from a sphere of influence of somebody standing in line at the bank. And so we worked together for a number of years, and he kept telling me, I'm going to get my real estate license and I'm going to join your team. And I thought, okay. And it took him a while because he had other things going on, but then he finally did. And so he's on our team. And then we have a transaction coordinator, Marissa Gary, and she is behind the scenes doing all of the paperwork, marketing.
Okay, so let's go there for a minute. All right, this is what I love about these. I almost not like knowing what I'm walking into because we can go in different directions. I'm of the opinion realtors should be doing one of three things: showing property,
Exactly.
prospecting for new business, or going on a listing
Yes.
presentation. So with your transaction coordinator, at what point in your business did you hire them? And with the transaction coordinator, do they do anything that's client facing, or if anything it involves the client, you get involved? Like how do you leverage your transaction coordinator?
We are a very different team from what I found in the marketplace. Very, very different. And Chad Collins is not with our company anymore, but when he was, I had a different manager, Pam Scott. She's not with our company anymore either, but she
They
told
come
me,
back, you never know.
hey, they might. She was great. Chad was great too.
Chad's great. I love Chad.
Yeah. So she told me to call Chad, and I was very nervous about calling Chad because at the time I was just somebody in Waxahachie that only did a little bit of business.
Yeah.
And so I called him, and he was very gracious to give me knowledge that he had as far as setting up a team. And I think at the time he had 7 people on his team, so we weren't anywhere near that. But he really gave me the information and allowed me to set up the foundation to build our team. And gave me a lot of tricks, and he didn't even know me. He didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
He was so kind to do that. And so my first boss, Vera, she always said, if you're in the office, you're not making money. And that is so true. Just like you said, you need to be out prospecting, showing, whatnot. So I had been in the business about 2 years. In 2006, Chris and I got married. And I was trying to plan a wedding and sell real estate, and it was pretty busy at that point. And so I did what Vera did. I hired a senior that was in high school to teach some life lessons, work part-time. So I kind of followed in her footsteps on how I got started. And at that point, I was probably doing on my own 70 to 75 deals. But I didn't have life balance. I didn't have any life balance, okay? And that's not really normal. It's not normal to be able to do that, but I did. And so at that point, I got my first assistant. Well, then 2 years later, Chris got a promotion at his job, and he started working nights, which was horrible for our family dynamics.
Sure.
Gentry was too, and that was just not very good. So at that point, I had been wanting Chris to get into real estate with me since we got married. But, the Lord knew better, and he knew that it wasn't the right time, and 2 years later, it was the right time. And so Chris literally was working 60-hour weeks, helping me put out signs, and studied on his off time and part-time keeping our 2-year-old because of his schedule, and took his real estate exam and passed on the first time. And so we hit the ground running there. And we thought Chris would be out. We have different personalities. He's a little bit more reserved. We thought he would be more behind the scenes doing paperwork and stuff. Not at all. Didn't happen. So Marissa Geary, I got her into the business. She was actually in property management, and her kids were just a little bit older. They're about the age of my kids now. And so she had a little bit more free time on her hands because her kids were in school full time. And so we just talked, and we're like, hey, why don't you join our team? And so she did, and she had no desire to be out with people. And so she loves paperwork, and we hate it.
There you go. No good salespeople likes paperwork.
No.
But you hired a senior.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. Okay. Did you pay the senior at the time?
Yeah, we paid the senior. Yeah, so we actually we've had 3 seniors work for us. Yes, yeah. And they were always girls that were involved in other things. So they would work, anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a week, depending on what we had.
Got it.
And they would do personal stuff, like run errands. They might put up a sign, but mainly our personal stuff, go get dry cleaning.
So there you go. If you think you can't afford a transaction coordinator, look for high school seniors.
Yeah.
Probably easier now if they're doing virtual learning too, right?
And if you have a college in your town, there's people that need to build their resume. We did have a guy that was in the midst of graduating from Ole Miss, and he came and
Ole Miss. That's Brent Germany's school.
He came and shadowed us and put that on his resume and did some help too.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah.
Okay, so 2 last questions. Okay, one is if you can go back to when you first got started in the business and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't get so worked up over stuff that you can't control. There's so much in this business that we can't control, and I'm kind of a control freak. So,
but you have a transaction coordinator.
Well,
so major kudos.
Yeah, but she's trained on my system.
Okay.
So, but she's put a lot of systems into place that has made us better. But just there's certain things that you can't control. You can't control that the lender didn't get docs to the title company on time, or called you Wednesday at 3:00 for a Thursday closing. And so you have to handle those objections with your clients. It's very stressful. But I wouldn't, lose sleep over it or get upset, or I just used to get so upset about that kind of stuff. And we just know that we can't control it now. And
don't worry about getting upset. Just figure out the solution.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the exact perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last question. You said specifically, do not ask me about a book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation. So I got you on this ear, on my shoulder, telling me this. But then on this shoulder, I have a mentor. His name's Emmett Logan. I've had him from back in Florida. And Emmett, he goes, I didn't realize my collar was sticking out the whole time. You should have told me.
Sorry. You did have a spider web.
Yeah. Is that what that was? I was like, something's like fluttering
You're
in here.
in the country now.
Yeah, I have the sun, not perfect timing. But anyways, there you go. It's what happens when we film live.
That's right.
And in my last episode with Liz, I got so caught up, I forgot to ask her the question. So I got Emmett on the other side telling me, Alex, you didn't ask, so he watched till the end. And I know Emmett's going to be watching this one. So if you're not into books or podcasts or TED Talks, what do you do to stay, on like the cusp of what's happening and educated about what's going on? How are you getting better?
Yes, probably. I am a reader, but I can't give like a great book because I'm busy at work. We try to get our free time in, and I have young kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. So it's not like I'm really, sitting reading a lot with a book.
You don't have the time.
Right. Maybe another time in my life. But I do like to read articles, and I do follow Jared James. And so I don't really have a podcast for him, so to speak, but there's a lot that I like to listen to with him if I'm in the car.
Okay. What does he talk about? I've never heard of Jared James.
Jared James, real estate?
Idea. No idea.
Yeah. He
120 episodes. You're the first person to bring him up.
Yeah, Jared James. He's awesome. So I'm on his Instagram, social media. He's just a real estate mentor and motivator, and
There you go.
Yeah, so look him up.
All right,
I
Jared
think you'll
James.
like it.
I learned something
Yes,
today, too.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Y'all have a lot of similar energy.
Okay.
One of his things is, did you sweat today? So he likes to work out. Yeah.
I sweated today. We went for a run in 37-degree
Yes,
weather.
yes,
It was awesome.
yeah,
Melissa, thank you so much. This
Yes,
was awesome.
yes,
And this is one of the things I can tell you about the show that I've learned is now that it's in Dallas and I'm using it as a way to really get to know our great agents in the Metroplex. This blew my expectations away. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to go around. Any parting words for the audience? How can they find you? If somebody's looking here, how do they find you?
Website, melissamcclainlewis.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, McClain Lewis Team. You can also search Waxahachie, and most of our stuff is tagged as far as locations there.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.